Well, 2 events down and 2 more almost about to wrap up here for the 2020 Reebok CrossFit Games. Welcome to the Road to the Ranch pre-show. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a ton of great content to show you before we get to the live event scores from events 3 and 4. Well, we caught up with CrossFit Games veteran and new mom, Annie Thor's daughter, a little bit earlier. So excited to share that with you. We'll introduce you to CrossFit's new GM of International, Gary Gaines, about a week and a half into his position here with CrossFit. We catch up with Steph Chung for more on the Professional Fitness Athletes Association. Haley Adams weighs in on growing up throughout the CrossFit age group competition. And finally, we will catch up live with Australia's James Newbury to talk a little bit about overcoming his injuries last season and looking ahead to 2021. But first, Phase 1 of the 2020 CrossFit Games is happening in a little bit of a different way. It's online and we're taking it back to the boxes. The cool part about that is that affiliates all over the world get the chance to participate alongside some of their favorite CrossFit Games athletes. Take a look.
Hi, this is Kim from CrossFit Sapphire in Bega, New South Wales, Australia. This is our CrossFit Teens group, and the Savo, we're just about to have a crack at the 1K row. Who's going to win, guys?
Who knows?
Not you, Sebastian?
Oh, maybe.
Maybe. My money's on Sebastian.
Hey guys, this is Jared Muse from Coda CrossFit here in Oklahoma City. We're about to start Damn Diane.
Hey, I'm Joreen, coaching at De Novo CrossFit in Fort Collins, Colorado. Today we just knocked out the 1,000-meter time trial, and it was awesome. So, CrossFit Games 2020! Woo!
So cool. It gets me so fired up to see affiliates all over the world getting in on the action. Almost makes me want to try one of the events, but almost. All right, moving on. We had a chance to catch up with Annie Thor's daughter a little bit earlier. She's a CrossFit Games champion, a veteran of the sport, and she's a new mom. Although she may not be competing in this season's events, she's still keeping pretty busy. Take a look. We are so excited to be joined by Annie Thor's daughter on your birthday, right?
Yes.
Happy
31
birthday.
today.
That's what a great time. There's no better day to have a birthday than the kickoff to the CrossFit Games.
Right? I feel like it's like a birthday weekend going on right now.
Totally. Now, I'm really excited to have you for a number of reasons, but what I kind of want to pick your brain about to start here is the Athlete Advisory Council, this new council within CrossFit HQ itself that has a number of athletes from different walks of life, sort of like helping figure out how things are going to move forward with a competitive season. You're on that committee right now. What has that experience been like so far for you?
I think it's been really interesting. I'm very excited for what's to come, and for HQ actually looking for input to see how we might be able to make things run even better. And I feel like it's been going really well. We've been able to talk about so many different things, and also I feel like I'm getting to understand a little bit more like how many things you actually need to be thinking about for everything to work properly and be proper. But I think it's good for, like, we all have our different roles. Dave makes the programming, you make the shows, the athletes come on the floor and perform, you have the judges, and we all see it from our own perspective. And I think it's so good to get input from every single place so that it's so easy to misunderstand something, or maybe, for example, some of the people at HQ didn't quite get why or what might bother the athletes, and it's so easy fixes. So it's been very cool to actually get some of those changes, some of that feedback, and then, yeah, I'm just excited that we're taking these first steps, and I'm really excited for what's to come.
Totally. Now, this is like the perfect time for you to be on this council, because you're not competing this season because you just had your beautiful baby girl. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
And I know you have a little bit of FOMO right now. Like, you kind of wish that you were out there competing with everyone else. But looking ahead, what does sort of the next season and prep for what's to come look like for you?
Well, obviously the plan has been to just see how everything goes. But my plan is definitely get back into where I was before, try to get back where I was before and become even better.
So that's still the goal. My goal is to compete next year, and I'm getting even more fired up watching the games starting now, seeing the athletes go. Like, yeah, I can just feel it like butterflies in my stomach and the itch to get going again. So it's definitely, yeah, I'm excited for the next season. So that's where I want to go to. And that's why it's perfect to be on the advisory board now, because I can actually have some input for what's to come without me actually competing. That's why, yeah, and it's done 31st of December, which is perfect that I was actually able to be a part of it then.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, and lucky for, everyone involved that you have all the experience under your belt and you're able to bring that sort of input to the committee. Annie, thank you so much for joining us and for, being so open about your story with your pregnancy and your birth and now your sort of like road to getting back into the competitive side of things. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
So cool catching up with Annie all the way over from Iceland. And to continue CrossFit's efforts expanding all over the world, well, that's where Gary Gaines steps in. He's CrossFit's new GM of International, and we can't wait for you to meet him. Well, we are so excited to be joined by Gary Gaines, CrossFit's new GM of International. Gary, how's it going?
It's going very well. Thank you so much for having me, Nikki.
No problem. Welcome. And welcome also to the CrossFit HQ family. This is day 9 for you?
9. Yep. It's been an incredible 9 days.
So cool. So you are sort of new to the CrossFit environment, at least on the HQ side, though not to CrossFit as a sport. Tell us a little bit about your background. I know you played collegiate sports and you've worked in this type of position before. What's your experience been like?
Yeah, so I played 4 years of college football at a school called St. Lawrence University in Northern New York. Graduated, held positions at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Lyft, Tesla, and most recently SoulCycle, where I ran global operations. So that was kind of my introduction to fitness. But throughout that whole journey was doing CrossFit and very much a fan of the sport.
As the GM of International, what does your job really mean? What are your duties?
Yeah, so it's a really interesting role. So the way that I look at it, you've got kind of 3 verticals at CrossFit. That's the affiliate space, that's training and education, and affiliate. And those are led by 3 business owners, Dave Castro, Nicole Carroll, and Josh Weisberg. And they're really focused an inch wide and a mile deep within those verticals. And the way that I look at my role is I need to be a mile deep and a mile wide in all 3 of them internationally. So really create synergies, break down silos, and leverage each other's excitement, activations to really amplify the sport and create global awareness.
Very cool. Very cool to have you in that space as we continue to watch the CrossFit community grow internationally. I mean, more CrossFit for more people. That you couldn't ask for anything better, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's brought so much to my life and really been a major part of it. And, I'm very excited to be able to bring that to more people.
So cool. Gary, thank you so much for joining us here. And hey, have fun watching the games from the inside and the outside for the first time.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much and good luck this weekend. Thank you so much for everything that you do. Bye. Well,
there's been a big push this year for advocating for elite CrossFit athletes. And yesterday, we had a chance to catch up with Steph Chung, who sits on the executive board of the PFAA. Take a listen to how they're helping shape the sport of fitness. Well, welcome to the show, Steph Chung. Steph, how's it going?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Very, very good. Thank you so much for being with us. If you guys don't know who Steph is, in addition to being an incredibly accomplished games athlete herself, she's also on the interim executive board of the new PFAA, which is the Professional Fitness Athletes Association. It's a new group outside of what you may have heard, inside of CrossFit HQ, we have our own sort of like athlete council, but this is sort of external from CrossFit itself, but a group of athletes that are trying to make sure that everything sort of like stays fair and that athletes are advocated for. Steph, tell us a little bit more about the PFAA and its goals.
Great. So the PFAA we formed over the summer. It was launched by a group of people who felt like there was a space for it, and I think it was agreed amongst athletes that there was a long time coming. So Krennichoff being one of them, has really taken the lead, and our goal is to unify athletes' voices. So we're trying to bring the interests of athletes to the forefront and bring our voices together to try to, advocate for ourselves.
Yeah, that makes sense. What kind of things do you like put on your task list to make sure that like, you know, the athletes are being heard about?
Well, we've highlighted two major things, safety and fairness.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are two things that everyone agrees should be a part of the sport and should be and, you know, all athletes have ideas of perhaps how things could be improved. So one, safety, you know, mats underneath handstand push-ups, mats underneath rope climbs, hydration stations on long run events. And fairness, things like small things ensuring that, you know, lane to lane, heat to heat, everyone is given a fair shake so that all the athletes come out at the end of the weekend saying that they were all an even playing field.
It makes a lot of sense. Fairness, I think, is something that's very interesting to talk about, especially given the fact that 2020 has been so bizarre, and that we are faced for the very first time with this sort of phase one online portion of the CrossFit Games. So from an athlete's perspective and from the PFA's perspective, how is this first portion of the test of fitness online fair across the board to athletes?
Well, I think that there are some really interesting things, and it kind of shows progress on the side of the PFA being heard, and then CrossFit HQ really coming to athletes and wanting to hear their voice. So one of the things was that they brought the appeals, the preliminary appeals process to the PFAA. We were involved on that call, and that was really huge. You know, it was something that they came up with to try to refine the appeals process. And I think they did a really great job. You know, the athletes across the board felt like it was something that had been well thought out.
Well, the youngest competitor in the field, Haley Adams, is a force to be reckoned with. If you're not familiar with last year's Rookie of the Year, you're about to be. Check this out.
Beside my gymnastics gym, there was this glass window, and I would see these women like lifting weights, jumping rope, like doing pull-ups on the pull bar. I was like, what in the world is that? So I walked over there one day with my dad, and I begged him. I was like, I really want to do it because I was so over gymnastics. I just begged. And then he finally signed me up for like the intro class, and then the rest is history. My name is Haley Adams. I'm 19 years old. I was the 6th fittest woman in the world last year and Rookie of the Year. I think that I was able to find success as an individual because I moved to Cookeville, Tennessee. Moving here to Cookeville like seriously changed my athletic career. I don't think I would be even close to where I'm at if I didn't. Tasia has been the best training partner in person for me to be around, and I can't ever thank her enough, and same for Rich. He has pushed me daily to get where I'm at now, and yeah, I really owe a lot to them and just the whole team here at Mayhem. After the first event, my confidence like flew up because, I mean, that was a great test. I feel like it was a heavyish barbell, gymnastics and running, so I was like, I can hang with these girls and I just need to believe that I can. And I was 100% intimidated at first by veterans of the sport. I look at it now, I'm like, I feel like they should be intimidated by me. My goal this weekend is honestly just to prove to myself that I deserve to be with those girls again after last year and represent my Mayhem family well and show my fitness.
Well, we are just a few minutes away from the live results from events 3 and 4 of the competition. But before we get there, you may know him as the 5th fittest man on earth. James Newbury is catching up with us live from Australia. We are so excited to have him here in the show with us. James, how is everything going?
Really good. So, busy here. Like, we've been flat chat and everyone's been keeping up to date with all the new scores and how the format's playing out. So yeah, I can't complain. I've just been, busy.
We're really excited to chat with you because I know that it was unfortunate that your season was cut short. You were dealing with some pretty serious injuries that are keeping you out of the 2020 season, but you seem to have made an incredible recovery. Just tell us a little bit about what you've been through.
So at the back end of last year, I fell off a mountain bike. I was in a mountain bike accident. I ended up breaking a couple of spinal processes off on my back, on my spine. broke a few ribs and punctured a lung. So that was a bit of a spanner in the works. But yeah, we kind of bounced back from that fairly fast. It didn't take too long. I kind of just like turbocharged the recovery and didn't do as much training during a very short period of time. They kept me in hospital for 5 days. I think it's the longest I've gone sitting in bed in my entire life.
Wow.
So that kind of dragged on. And then after that, basically just tried to get back, get back on the horse. And we were trying to prep up for a few things here and there. And then, COVID happened and we were in a bit of a lockdown situation. So we had to kind of look for other areas to try and make it to the games, considering the Open was canned out for last year for me. And then, just recently I was doing a weightlifting competition and I thought I ruptured a bicep tendon. But
No.
I just got an MRI about an hour ago and they said, no, you're all good. It's all fine. So it's just, I think there might be a tear in my bicep belly somewhere in front of the nerve. So it kind of shoots a little pain from time to time. But other than that, I'm all good. I've been surfing a lot, so I can't complain. I've got a big smile on my face.
Okay, great. I was going to say, man, you can't catch a break. But okay, it sounds like this is not going to be an issue. Looking ahead, I mean, you must be excited to be able to hit the ground running for the 2021 season.
Totally. Yeah, I'm really keen to utilize this time to kind of work on some weaknesses that I've had in the past, and work on some strength and some speed, which is it's definitely going to help me overall. I remember trying to break through to the CrossFit Games. There was a period of time where I really had to bump my strength up and be able to handle barbell cycling, some heavy barbells and lifting heavier weights. And when I did get stronger, I did find all my metcons a lot easier. So I think I'm at the point now that I have to kind of do that again if I want to actually be, continue still being competitive.
Yeah, makes sense. James, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to see what the next season brings for you.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Well, it was awesome being able to catch up with athletes all over the world, and we are so excited to see what is coming next with the live results and the road to the games with Sean Woodland and Annie Sakamoto.
Thank you, Nikki. Coming up next on the road to the ranch, we will have the full results from the men's and women's competition after 4 events. We will also take a look at full event performances from Tia Toomey. Coming up next on the road to the games, we will have full results from the men's and women's competition after 4 full events. We will also show you the full efforts from event 3 for Tia Toomey and Matt Fraser. The bubble watch is on. We will let you know who is in the top 5 and who is in contention. Some big names working their way up the leaderboard. Annie Sakamoto joins me coming up here on the road to the ranch. Here in Aromas, California, as we continue the road to the ranch. I'm Sean Woodland alongside Annie Sakamoto. We're off to a great start already. We have full results. We're going to get those coming up to you here in just a second, but we want to let everybody know that if you want to watch full events from all the athletes, you can go to the CrossFit Games YouTube channel. I'm going to say that one more time. If you want to watch full events from all the athletes, go to the CrossFit Games YouTube channel. The ones that have been approved and submitted are up there. Knock yourselves out. Here's where we stand now after 4 events. Tia Toomey, 380 points. She wins the first 3 events. She's the first person to ever do that at the CrossFit Games. Brooke Wells is still in the top 5. Amanda Barnhart works her way into the top 5. Cara Saunders has dropped a couple spots, and Danny Spiegel moves up as well. She is now inside the top 5. Christine Best was there before events 3 and 4, she falls out. But Catherine Davis' daughter, she is climbing. Kristen Holta as well. She is moving up. Carrie Pierce, she sits in 11th place. Christy Aramo O'Connell, she dropped down to 13th place. Laura Horvath, we're going to have more on her in a second. Disaster in event 3. She is now in 19th place. And we talked about this earlier. Sarah Sigman's daughter, just not where people expected her to be. 25th place overall with just 135 total points. Over on the men's side, like on the women's side, some names that we expected to see inside the top 5 are certainly there. And the one guy who we expected to see on top of the overall leaderboard, he is absolutely there. And that is Matt Fraser, 360 total points, 79 clear of Noah Olson. So smooth sailing right now for Matt Fraser. Aiden Brown continues to impress. He sits in 3rd. Jeffrey Adler and Yonikowski rounding out the top 5. But look who's moving up the leaderboard in 8th place after a rough start, Pat Vellner. With 2:19, he is within striking distance. Chandler Smith and Justin Medeiros as well. So nothing has been decided after these 4 events. As we look now in spots 11 through 20, some guys who need to make some noise coming into events 5 and 6. Tim Paulson, he is moving up the leaderboard. He sits in 11th place. Griffin Raleigh couldn't stay in the top 5. He had not the performance he was looking for in events 3 and 4. He now sits in 13th place. Remember, he had that monster 490 front squat to put himself into the top 5 after 2 events. Bjorn Gudmundsson, kind of a surprise. He's in 17th right now. He has a lot of room to make up. And Cole Sager, he's no stranger to making a comeback. He sits in 18th place. Now, your bottom 10 guys who really have a lot of work to do now. Roman Krennichoff is one of them. His first career CrossFit Games appearance, 157 points. And Brent Fikowski sitting there in 24th place. Really needs to start ripping off some event wins in order to get himself into contention to make it here to aerobics. Welcome in Annie Sakamoto right now. We were talking before we came on here. The leaderboard, it's a lot like the Open. We had those first couple of events and things like, what's going on? Everything's out of sorts. Then things start to settle down. The cream starts to rise to the top. That certainly seems to be what is happening here. But it's still some big names who are on the outside and some names who are starting to climb into contention. It's going to be a good final day.
Definitely. And one of those people that made a big move, and we needed him to do that, was Patrick Vellner. Great job, Patrick. This is kind of what we were hoping to see from you. A little worried that we might not see it. Fantastic job by Pat Vellner on both events 3 and 4. And then right above him, Chandler Smith, moving and inching his way into contention into the right side of that red line. So 2 athletes that I'm really happy to see have made a move towards qualifying to get here to aerobics. The 2 athletes that I'm just really surprised to see on page 3 still are both Brent Fikowski and Sarah Sigman's daughter, and with only 3 events left to go, I just don't know that they have enough room to climb their way into that top 5 spot.
Yeah, they're going to have to finish probably top 3 and get a lot of help in order to get themselves into contention, but still a lot can happen. Let's take a look at Tia Toomey. We're going to start in Sparta, Tennessee. It's right outside Cookeville. That's where Tia Toomey is. Event 3 for her, to say it went well, I think would be an understatement. We're going to watch her whole event. 3 rounds. This is Damn Diane. 3 rounds again. 15 deadlifts, 205 for the women, and then 15 deficit handstand push-ups. Her time is 2:28 on this.
And I think that is, and I'm a shorter athlete. This is an event that favors me. And I think my very best regular Diane, so 50 pounds lighter, kipping handstand push-ups, is about the same time that she just did a 205-pound deadlift, deficit strict handstand push-ups. And you can see right there the intentional break on the handstand push-ups. You know that was very intentional. The break was quick. She's right back to the bar. I mean, this is the performance of a champion.
And we talked about this in event number 1, where transitions come in to play here because seconds matter. She did this in event 1. She's doing it now here in event 3. Back to the bar, no time wasted whatsoever. No chalking the hands, no taking a deep breath, just right to work.
Right. Exactly. And what I like here, and we talked about this earlier too, there is a set distance that bar has to be from the handstand push-up spot. And Tia moves with absolute, the fastest pace that she can back to that bar, back to the handstand push-up spot. She doesn't walk. Like you said, she doesn't stop and take a breath. She is just right back on the bar, right back on the wall.
Matt Fraser there on the right of your screen checking out her performance as well. And I think Tia actually has bragging rights in this event. I think she beat Matt's time.
She did by, I think, what would be about 16 seconds, if I'm not mistaken.
Not bad. I mean, final. Look, if you blinked, you missed the first 2 rounds. Here.
Exactly. Exactly.
So Tia Toomey was trying to become the first woman to ever win, the first person to ever win the opening 3 events of the CrossFit Games. Her husband there cheering her on as well. And I mean, if you're going to be the fittest on earth, this is basically what you're going to have to beat right here, because.
And we were talking about it earlier too. I mean, I don't know if she's touchable at this point. Besides her physical ability, it really is. Look at how calculated she is on these handstand push-ups. She knows exactly in the first rounds where she needed to break to be able to not struggle on these last reps. Kicks down quick, right back up. Look how fast those strict reps still are. She's, misses 1 rep, but look at how quick she's right back on the wall. Races to the finish line.
Yeah.
That is a champion.
And that's another thing too, is that mistakes are going to happen, things are going to go wrong. It's how you react, and she just shakes it right off.
100%.
A lot of people that might get into their heads, but 2 minutes 28 seconds to win that event for Tia Toomey. 3 straight victories to open the competition. First time that's ever happened in CrossFit Games history. There was a woman who pushed her pretty hard in 2017 at the CrossFit Games, and that was Saunders. She is in Australia. Let's take a look at some of her performances today. Didn't have, I think, the results that she wanted, especially in event number 3 for her, but she did do enough work on events 1 and 2 so that she could have, I don't want to say a miss, but she could have a little bit of a not the best result. This is her final round, and she finished in 4 minutes and 20 seconds, and that was good enough for 20th.
Exactly. Yeah. And she started off so strong with a 2nd and a 3rd on those first 2 events. We were saying earlier, I just didn't expect a 20th place finish for Cara on Diane, but she, like you said, she set herself up so well on those first 2 events. She can afford to have a 20th place finish. She just needs to make sure that something like 20th doesn't happen again for the remainder of the events.
And you can see, again, transitions and rest and how much time, you really lose by, not moving.
Right. And Cara is an amazing athlete, but look at the tempo that she comes out of those handstand push-ups. They're really starting to slow down. And if you compare that to the speed that Tia had coming out of those handstand push-ups, every single rep was quick. It really just shows you, again, how Tia has set herself apart from the rest of the field.
Yeah, it's almost as if every break basically just slides you down the leaderboard every time.
Right.
You take a significant amount of time to shake out your hands, breathe, and then get back. Like, you're just, seconds matter in these fast events. But again, Cara Saunders, great work on events 1 and 2.
Well, and it is a delicate dance, Sean, right? Because if you don't break and you miss a rep, now you've wasted that much energy and that much more time. So again, it really comes to the athletes that know their capacity on strict handstand push-ups. They know when they're starting to slow down. They know when they need to break in order to be able to get back on the wall and get another rep without failing.
Yeah, Cara Saunders down to singles here on her final round. Again, she is inside the top 5 after 4 events. And
well, she came back and she got 13th place on the row. That was definitely good enough to, like we said, keep her within the top 5, the qualifying position. So great effort. I think she had, wasn't what we expected from her on Diane. She came back on that row. I mean, look at that. She's pulling a 137 with only 70 meters left to go. Really impressive.
Selling out. Yeah, she would take 13th. In event 4, and that would earn her 52 points. Remember, we are on game scoring for 30 athletes, so 100 for the win, then 96 for second, and then so on and so forth as we work our way down the leaderboard. So Cara Saunders in really good position right now, because these next 3 events for her, now we don't know how that handstand hold is going to play out. That's right. We've talked about that, kind of an X factor. But there's nothing I don't think she doesn't like in these final 3.
For sure. I think that overhead squat at 125 is not going to be any problem for her. And then my guess is she's kind of frothing at the mouth for that final barbell in Awful Annie. So I think the handstand hold, like we've said, for almost every single athlete is the unknown. But the other 2 events, both Naughty Nancy and Awful Annie, shouldn't give her any trouble.
Well, there's another person down in Australia who's putting on an impressive performance right now. He definitely caught our eye after
events
day
1 and 2.
Events
Yes.
1 and 2, that's right. Aiden Brown, this is a guy who showed up to the games last year and got cut after one event. So basically had enough time to get his gear, go out, do one workout, and then had to go home. Looking pretty solid right now.
Definitely. He actually, just like Cara, took 21st on Damn Diane, which was a little surprising for me looking at the first 2 scores that he had on event 1 and event 2. But again, he has set himself up really well going into the last 3 events.
Yeah, Aiden Brown, 3rd place overall right now. This is his final round of Damn Diane. And right back to the deficit handstand push-ups for his final 15. So 5 minutes, 12 seconds on this event. And that was good enough for 21st place. But like Cara Saunders, you're not going to win the CrossFit Games or get yourself to Aromas in those first couple events. But you can certainly put yourself out of contention, and he has some equity build up after those first 2.
That's exactly it. You know, having that 3rd place finish and that 6th place finish on those first 2 events, he can afford having a 21st place finish. He did really good on the row as well, I believe. I think he was about 6th place on the row. Just like Cara, he gave himself a little net. He doesn't have to go into these last events kind of scrambling to get himself there. But he cannot let up off the gas. He needs to hold his foot down on that pedal to make sure he does qualify.
And Aiden Brown showed up during the Open in a big way, 7th overall to qualify. And we mentioned last year at the CrossFit Games, got cut after that first event, but
he came back with a vengeance, I would say.
Apparently this guy addressed some weaknesses, and he has some fitness because he is set up very nicely heading into the final 3 events. And down to singles, here as we take another look at his final round. We'll be looking at a lot of events in their entirety and a lot of final rounds and highlights here on the road to the ranch as we recap events 3 and 4. Aiden Brown, man, there's something about having kids down in Australia. He's a father of 2 as well. So Cara Saunders has her first kid. He has 2 kids. So maybe that has something to do with
I love it. They're almost like the kind of male-female mirror image of each other right now, the way they're going through this stage 1. Finishing up his reps right here. It looks like he's only got a couple reps left, hopefully.
But it is really a smart athlete, and you mentioned this with Cara Saunders, who knows how to ride that line of, I need to rest, but I can't rest so long that I can't do, that I'm
out of contention.
Exactly. I just need to do 1. I don't need to rest enough so where my breath is fine and I'm okay, and now I can go knock out 5.
And we were talking about, we saw Stacy Tovar do that at the regionals.
Right, at the regionals that one year. Yeah.
She singled. She knew that that's what she had to do to keep herself in that workout, and that's exactly what she did.
Yeah, well, let's go from Australia now up to Russia, where a man we have all wanted to see compete at the CrossFit Games had an incredible performance in event number 4, and that is Roman Krennichoff. You're going to see his entire performance here on the rower. He won the event to lock up 100 points, and he had a time of 2 minutes 48 seconds. He pulled a 124. He's at 123 right there, but throughout that entire row, 124. I don't know the last time I ever pulled that anything on any time.
Right, even just for 1 stroke.
I'm a bigger guy, yeah.
Right, exactly. But Roman needed this. He on his front squat, he only squatted 376 pounds, which was good for 27th place, which really is not what I was expecting out of him. So whether he knew that he really needed to have a good performance here, or he just decided to go completely full send, I don't know. But look at 122, he hasn't varied from about that 122, 123 pace. To think of holding that for almost 3 minutes.
Yeah. Roman Krennichoff, though, still has some work to do. I mean, that event win obviously helps him out. He gets 100 points in the process. But he currently sits in 22nd place. So hopefully for his sake, he has a lot left in the tank for those final 3 events, because he has a ton of ground to make up if he wants to find himself inside the final 5 with a chance to come here to Aromas. And I say a chance because we all know the problems he's had getting into the United States to compete.
Right. I was just thinking about, if you think of the time domain, even at 2 minutes and 48 seconds, that 1K row is, that to me is about the worst time domain you can be in, right? Over 4 minutes, you have to pace it a little bit. The pace that some of these people are doing regular Fran at now is so fast that it doesn't even hurt until it's over. But that 3 minute time domain the pain sinks in by about, almost 2 minutes in, and then you just have to ride that pain for another 45 seconds to a minute at least.
And we were talking to Dave Castro yesterday about this event, and someone asked him, well, why didn't you just make it longer? Why did you make it a 1,000? He goes, you missed the point. Like, if that's what you're thinking, you're missing the point of this. 1,000 meters is an awful distance because you know how badly it's going to hurt because, like you said, there's a pace that you got to hold for this, and it is not pleasant. But Roman Krennichoff did a heck of a job as he wins the event with a time of 2 minutes 48.9 seconds and almost pulled the chain out of that thing.
Uh-oh, he's dropped to a 128 here, huh? Again, if I could see that screen read 128 for one pull in my life.
I'd retire.
Yeah.
Never get on a rower again. You conquered this machine, time to move on to something else.
Something else. Maybe the elliptical, huh?
Hey, I'm not above that, Annie. Roman Krennichoff with his first career CrossFit Games event win as he takes event number 4. So Roman Krennichoff with a solid finish there to close out his day 1. The big story, though, let's go to the women's side now. We're going to go up to Hungary, so a little bit west, if my geography is correct, of Russia. Thank you. Do my best there. But we saw when Damn Diane came out and there was those deficit handstand push-ups, I think everybody who follows the sport looked at that and said, ooh, Laura Horvath's not going to like that one, and she certainly didn't. She didn't finish the event. Which
is just mind-blowing to me. So we all knew that this was not the event that Laura would win, but this was a damage control event for Laura. And, to think that she did not even finish this event is it's heartbreaking for me as an athlete in this sport because it means there's a couple of things, right? Either she's not working on her weakness, which would be tragic, or 2, she hasn't figured out how to work with her weakness, how to at least make it so that you're not failing in the middle of a competition. And that to me is just tragic because I really like Laura. I think she's an amazing athlete. I fell in love with her in 2018 when she was a rookie at the Games. And I just really hope that she does figure this out because I think, again, she is a spectacular athlete that has a lot of potential.
And I'm sure people are out there going, well, how has she not gotten better at this? But there are things that, like you said, you just can't overcome. And then it becomes about strategy.
That's exactly
She's just got to figure out, look, how do I manage this? And so she finishes 30th, and pretty much out is Laura Horvath. So let's go to Finland now. Yonikowski, a name that we've all heard when we talk about the CrossFit Games. He's trying to make a push. Event number 3 went very well for Yonikowski. He takes 3rd place overall with a time of 3 minutes 29 seconds.
Yeah, Yona had, a 10th and a 15th on event 1 and event 2. So not horrible finishes, but not necessarily finishes that are going to put you in contention for qualifying. He needed to have a strong event 3, especially knowing that event 4, the road, does not favor his height and the athlete that he is. So to think that he really did pull it out in event 3, getting 3rd place with a time of 3:29 is awesome for him.
So the final round of Damn Diane for Yonikowski, so it's 15 deadlifts and then the 15 deficit handstand push-ups. Koski, as you mentioned on the row, didn't follow this 3rd place finish up with a great performance, but for him, decent. 16th place overall, and it was good enough to put him in that 5th and final spot. So right now, Yonikowski with a gigantic target on his back as he heads into the final day of competition.
Right, and what that means, Sean, the handstand event is an unknown for a lot of these athletes, for us knowing these athletes. So when I look at tomorrow's events, I'm thinking he really has to push Nancy. I think that's a great workout for him to to put his foot on the pedal and make a move to make sure that he does stay in that top 5 position, that qualifying position.
Now let's go to Iceland now, where 2 big names are struggling. One on the men's side, one on the women's side. And we're going to start with Bjorn Karlsson, a guy that we thought was almost a shoo-in for the top 5. It was hard not to pick him to be one of the guys to make it. What's going wrong for him?
Well, exactly. I mean, I didn't think the row nor the front squat were going to be his events, but what BKG has not done is on events like Diane or Fran, he hasn't utilized those to play to his strengths, and that's what he needs to do. He needs to make big moves on events like Damn Diane where he can make up some points because we know row, front squat, those aren't going to be his events.
Yeah, 16th in event 3, 24th in event 4. Right now, 17th place overall with 178 points. So Bjorn Karlsson has a ton of work to do. The other athlete who's struggling, and we talked about this after events 1 and 2, and I honestly, I just can't figure this one out. Sarah Sigman's daughter, not the way that I thought this would be going for her right now.
No, she started with the 27th in event 1. She followed it up with an 18th. Damn Diane was a 21st. Luckily, she did have a good row event. She got 11th place, but right now, she is nowhere near a qualifying position. We have 3 events left, and you know, it's a bummer for me. I think that we get these glimpses of the early Sarah, the Sarah that was on the podium. You know, she got 2nd in the Rogue Invitational. She won the Filthy 150 this year. She won the Dubai CrossFit Championships this year, but she's just so hit or miss. And the unfortunate thing is that a lot of her misses are coming at the games right now.
Yeah, she has 135 total points right now. She took 21st in event 3, 11th, her best finish so far, that was in event 4. She is 125 points out of 5th place. So it's looking like Sarah Sigman's daughter, who did so well in the Open, did so well at the Rogue Invitational, is not going to be making the trip to Aromas, but a lot can happen. Maybe she runs the table on those final 3 events, but we caught up with her after event 4.
Today has been a lot of legs. I mean, we had thrusters this morning, and then we had front squat, and then now row. So legs are a bit trashed, but it's amazing what adrenaline can do when you're starting. Like, it went very well for me. I improved my time by 3 seconds, so it's all-time PR. And I feel now like, why didn't I go harder? I didn't die as much as I wanted to die. So yeah, but it was a good workout. It's a pressure workout because every second or half of a second is a placement.
In fairness to Sarah, she does not know where she sits when she's doing that interview. And she said, so why didn't I go harder? And I think that's something she's going to be asking herself a lot after this competition is over.
Well, and to be fair, none of these athletes know how anybody else has done. So it's not like because Australia goes first, they don't know how anybody else has done. The whole idea is that nobody gets to know how anybody else has done. Nobody gets to play off of anybody else's time so that it is a fair competition. So it's just a bummer that, you know, without knowing, some of these athletes really are able to push the envelope and do well. And then others, like Sarah right now, are not.
All right, let's come back now to the United States. We'll go back to Tennessee. We're going to watch the full event 3 from Matt Fraser. And we already saw a blistering fast time from Tia Toomey, and you're going to see one here from Matt Fraser as well. He wins event 3. Another event win for Matt, 100 points in a time of 2 minutes, 44 seconds. And like I said, when you watch Tia Toomey, you want to win the games, this is exactly what you have to beat right here. So good luck. I don't know if either one of those athletes is touchable. They are both in a different stratosphere right now.
Right. I mean, look at the pace of his deadlifts. It's like as soon as his legs are extended, he's pushing that bar right back down to the ground. There's no pause at the top to take a breath. He's just, the next deadlift is right into the next deadlift. Just like Tia, super fast on those handstand push-ups. That's a 3.5-inch deficit that the men had to do for the deficit strict handstand push-ups. Unbroken on that first set, all 15.
Once again, Matt Fraser and Noah Olson, as we saw at the games, they are in a battle because Olson is technically the closest guy to Fraser right now in the overall standings, but he's 79 points back. Fraser has 360 total points. Olson has 281, and he's only one up on Aiden Brown. So, you know, Matt Fraser is not in the mood for any sort of, you know, back and forth with Noah Olson here in these first 5 events, apparently.
But you really have to be impressed by both of these athletes, right? Like, it doesn't matter what the competition looks like as far as, is it virtual, are we in person, are there cuts really early, are there cuts really late? Both of these athletes are proving that they deserve to be in the top 5 in the conversation. Last set of deadlifts.
I mean, I looked down for 2 seconds and he's already done. Like, I missed the whole
He's in his
That's
third
how
round.
fast it's unbelievable. And the thing about Fraser, and we saw this with Rich Froning when he was competing, I think being their judges, probably one of the easiest jobs. They both move so cleanly.
Right. They're not leaving any doubt in the judge's mind. Was that a finished prep? Was it on the line? And you know, that is the sign of a really good athlete. Don't make your judge guess.
2 minutes, 44 seconds for Matt Fraser. So Tia Toomey does beat him in that one. So I'm sure Tia's going to, I wonder if they have a little bit of a bet here. I hope they do, to keep it interesting for the two of them.
Because right now, let's face it, really Matt and Tia are only competing against Matt and Tia. I mean, I would like to see them go head to head, right?
That might be a way to make this interesting, at least for the top spot. But Matt Fraser, it's a rare break for him, and then back on the wall. But as is customary, Matt Fraser picks up the event win and is now the all-time leader in career event wins. He has one more than Rich Froning. Froning has 16. Fraser now has 17. But look, no matter what the format is, Tia Toomey and Matt Fraser are just going to dominate it. I mean, I don't know what else we can throw at these two.
Right, and like I was just saying, maybe we pit them against each other at this point. And you know, I remember Jason Kalipa once said, you know, you're only as good as the people that you're training with or against, right? So if you only train with people that you're always better than, you're never getting pushed. You never know where you truly lie.
Right.
To think that Tia and Matt train together, that they are constantly pushing each other, probably often beating each other on different workouts, is a scary thought if you're an athlete that's going up against either of these athletes.
Well, from Tennessee, we're going to go a little bit south now to Florida, where Danny Spiegel was really nowhere to be found after the first event, but all of a sudden, she's in the top 5. She is making a charge, and now she looks like she has a really good shot of making it to Aromas here, because like Cara Saunders, I don't know what she might not like, except maybe the running.
I was just going to say, Sean, I'm a little bit worried about the running piece as far as Nancy goes. She did struggle with both of the running events last year at the games. But I know that 125-pound overhead squat isn't going to give her any issues. She also is a gymnast, so I don't think that the handstand hold will be a struggle for her. So, and I don't think the barbell on Awful Annie is going to be too hard for her. So she's looking like she's put herself in a real good position.
Yeah. All right. From the southeast to the Pacific Northwest, where two athletes are struggling, but one of them is making his customary charge up the leaderboard. We're going to look at the final round here for event 3 for both Pat Vellner and Brent Fikowski. So Vellner very much on the outside looking in, coming into this event. He was 21st overall after 2, and then Damn Diane shows up. So Fikowski's on the left, Vellner is on the right, and he takes 8th place overall and follows that up with a 7th. So if he could just avoid that early hole, maybe he could make things easier on himself here.
What is it about Pat Vellner in the early hole? I guess that's just how he competes. Maybe he likes to put that pressure on himself. Because let's face it, he now seems to be thriving, right? This is the Pat Vellner we were all expecting to see. I think that some people were worried about the deficit handstand push-ups for him. Even though he's an ex-gymnast, he has notoriously struggled on the deficit handstand push-ups. 8th place in Damn Diane, great job.
2 top 10 finishes for Pat Vellner, and he is now in contention with 3 events to go. And I'll say the same thing. I don't know what he doesn't like about those final 3 either. I think he has a chance to really make some noise in those events.
Definitely, and the handstand hold for me is one of them that I'm really excited to see him. Again, another ex-gymnast. I think he'll do great on that. Running and overhead squats, I don't think he's going to struggle. And then same thing, Awful Annie, I think he'll be fine.
Meanwhile, let's talk Brent Fikowski, who had 3 straight finishes, including this one, outside the top 20. 27th, 22nd, and then 22nd again in Damn Diane. Made a great effort in the 1,000-meter row. Took 5th with a time of 2 minutes, 54.2 seconds, but 24th place overall with 144 points. I mean, Fikowski is going to have to maybe sweep those final 3 events to give himself a shot.
And when you look at those 3 events, and no offense to Fikowski, what are the 3 events? I mean, who is he going to be able to completely sweep on those last 3 events to do that? So I just don't know that it's in the cards for him this year.
Pat Vellner, when you take a look at the overall leaderboard, we mentioned where he was and the ground he has to make up. So he has 219 points. Fifth place, Yonikowski has 245. So that's only 26 points he's got to make up. So very much alive, as is basically everybody from spots 5 all the way down, I'd say, to 14. And then some other guys there have an outside chance. So still a lot needs to be decided here as we head into day number 3 in the final 3 events. But what's going to stick out to you the most when you look back on day 1 of competition?
Definitely kind of the bonks that we saw from some athletes on events that to me are just so classic CrossFit that it's very odd to see some of these athletes not do well on thrusters and pull-ups, deadlifts and handstand push-ups. I mean, it doesn't get more CrossFit than that.
All right, well, they have 3 more chances to redeem themselves, and we're going to start looking ahead now to the final day of competition. 3 events. We start with event 5. That is Damn Diane, and this is a dirty event. I mean, it's bad enough already, but then you throw those bar-facing burpees in just to, I'm sorry, it was Nasty Nancy is what's next. We just did Damn Diane, but Nasty Nancy is, it is nasty. I mean, that's the best way to put it.
It's a 1.5 miles of running in total. It's 75 overhead squats at a heavy weight. And then, you know, Dave was nice enough to just throw some burpees in there just to tax the lungs and the shoulders a little bit more so that you don't want to run and you don't want to have to hold that bar overhead for all 15 reps unbroken. It should be a really good event, though.
What do you think the crux of that event is? What's the movement that's going to separate most people?
I think it's going to be the overhead squats. And I think it's going to be the pace at which, you know, these athletes can do those overhead squats.
Yeah, and then we move into event 6, and this is another just single test here. It's a gymnastics test, and it's something we've never seen in competition at the games level, be it open, regionals, or games before. It's just a simple handstand hold. 20 minutes to go for your longest attempt. Hard to pick this one, but you obviously look at, we were talking about earlier, like Pat Vellner. Former gymnasts should excel at something like this.
Definitely. Pat Vellner and Kari Pierce are definitely the 2 that come to mind for me. But again, you know, walking on your hands and standing on your hands are so 2 totally different things, different skills, and it'll be really interesting. I can't wait to see the times. You know, anything I'm sure from 10 seconds maybe to a couple minutes. I actually was telling you, I texted Dave Durante and asked him what his max freestanding handstand hold was. And do you know what it was?
I'm at what, 5 minutes?
9 minutes.
9, of course it was.
And 1 second. And he didn't move at all.
And there's a reason, he was talking to you a little bit about technique.
He said
and what's
that
important
actually, because I said, well, these athletes have a 4x4 foot square, you know, so they can move around a little. And he said, actually, that's not an advantage in that it taxes your shoulders more, it wastes energy.
All right, well, let's take a look again at the top 10 for both the men and the women. We're going to start with the women. It's not as close as the men's side because right now it's Danny Spiegel who holds on to that 5th and final spot in the overall leaderboard. Christine Best is the next closest woman, and she is 24 points out. Haley Adams is 27 points out. Davidsdottir, Holta, and Andrea Nisler are all also still in contention. But I don't want to say Spiegel has a ton of breathing room, but 24 points, as long as she stays close to Christine Best, it's going to be hard for Best to make up over these final 3 events, given how experienced Danny Spiegel is. But again, you never know what's going to happen. We've seen a lot of surprises here so far.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the names that I have my eyes on now would be that Haley Adams, right? I'm so impressed with her row time. 3:21, she tied Tia on the row time. She got 12 on Diane. She got 5th on Fran. We knew she wasn't going to do that well on the front squat, but she did what she had to do to keep herself in 7th place and complete contention for qualifying to get here to Aromas.
Yeah, let's go now to the men's side where it is much tighter at the top of, well, I shouldn't say the top, but in spots 3 through 10. Noah Olson is in 2nd place. Matt Fraser has a huge lead right now, 79 points. Yonikowski is in 5th, but a big target on his back as guys like Justin Medeiros, Chandler Smith, Pat Vellner, and Scott Tetlow, even Samuel Cornier, and we mentioned some guys outside the top 10. Tim Paulson, Sam Quant, and Griffin Raleigh all have him, Koski that is, within striking distance. So the pressure is on Yonikowski to hang on to that 5th and final spot. Now Adler is about 17 points clear of Koski, so you got to keep him in mind as well as someone who needs some work to do in order to stay inside that top 5. But Jeffrey Adler is a name who we thought might do well here, kind of a dark horse pick. It would be interesting to see now how he handles the pressure of the final 3 events.
Definitely, and that comes in, you know, being a rookie, not having a lot of experience, can play into how being in a good position and those last 3 events come up. But again, they're doing it from home, so that could definitely help him out right there.
Yeah, but you like Chandler Smith, where he is right now.
I do. He's only 10 points back, and when I look at the next 3 events, I know Nancy will be good for him. He's great at running. He loves the barbell. He should be fine there. I'm sure he is frothing to get to that barbell in Awful Annie. He is just going to tear those cleans apart. He should have no trouble on the double unders and the glute ham sit-ups. The only wild card for Chandler is how he does on that freestanding handstand hold. But again, only being 10 points back from Yonikowski, he's in a really good spot.
Can easily make that up in one event. I want to remind everybody, if you want to watch full events of all the athletes, the ones that have been submitted and judged and approved, you can go to the CrossFit Games YouTube channel. All of them are up there, so have fun watching as many events as you want. We have 1 day left. We will kick things off Saturday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time with our pre-show. Then at noon, we will have results from events 5 and 6 at 2:30 Pacific time, another pre-show, and then 3 p.m. we're going to wrap it all up, and we will know who the 5 men and 5 women who are making the trip to Aromas, California are for the second stage, the in-person stage of the CrossFit Games. We are going to say goodbye for Nikki Brazier and Annie Sakamoto. I'm Sean Woodham. Thank you for joining us. But before we go, we are going to treat you to the full event performance from Matt Fraser in Event 1.